What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Adventure Outpost, your hub for all things movie related. We're back with another in the long line series where we look at my favorite genres and we look at my favorite movies for that genre of the 21st century. We did action, we did animation, and now we are trying to laugh it up tonight as we dive into the comedy genre. That's right, we're going to take a look at my 50 favorite comedy movies that have come out since the year 2000. This was one of the hardest ones to do so far, simply because I laugh at fucking everything. So I literally had to just do every single comedy movie that I've seen because I love all of them, and then simply just be like, all right, what were the top 50 at the end of it? All right, those are it. Like, let's roll, because I love everything. I can laugh at everything. I love comedy. The dumber the comedy, the better for me. Just that type of humor. It's super hot in the dojo tonight, as you can see, so we're rocking a Black Sabbath tank top to do this party. So we're going to dive into all that good stuff. We're not going to waste any time because, as always, these 50 movies, they take a lot out of us and they take a lot to get into. So we're going to kick it off at number 50 with Jackass 3D. I can fucking watch the Jackass movies over and over and over again. You're going to see a bunch more of these ones show up on here simply because that style of humor just gets me, man. I grew up around this humor. This was from when I was a childhood, It's late, people. Don't listen to the words that I say. From when I was a child, I grew up with these. The original show came out when I was probably like 12 or 13. So it was right around that area of me being impressionable. And I've grown up with the movies. As I've gotten older, they've gotten better. I love these movies. I can watch them any and always. They are so fucking hilarious. Wet Hot American Summer is up next. This is probably one of my favorite spoof movies. It's so fucking stupid, and it makes it so great that it's so stupid. Like, when I say the dumber the comedy, the better, this is the type of comedy that I'm talking about. Like, this movie is so hilariously silly, and it is just chock full of people that would go on to be huge names in comedy. You were talking like Paul Rudd's in there, Janine Garofalo, David Hyde Pierce, Bradley Cooper is in there, Michael Ian Black, Amy Poehler. There's so many people that just show up randomly in this movie. Like, and it's just so hilariously stupid. Like, one of the characters, the guy who actually plays Bob and Bob's Burgers, gets turned into a can of soup. Like, and it's just the gimmick. It's so hilariously stupid, but it's amazing. We're the Millers is up next. Another just hilarious comedy about a dude who is a drug dealer that has to go down and get a nice big batch of weed, and he gets this fake family to go with him down there so that it looks less conspicuous, so that he can get back up with the heavy amounts of drugs. It's so stupid, but it's hilarious. Jason Sudeikis is hilarious in it. Jennifer Aniston is hilarious in it. Emma Roberts, and freaking that guy, I forget what his name is every time. Will Poulter, that's what his name is. It's hilarious. Like, look at the glow up that kid's at now. Like, look at what he looks like now when he's gonna be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and like, dear lord. But movies like this, they always make the weird looking dude, or whoever's playing the silly person, whether it's like a girl or a guy, if they're playing the awkward person, they always make them look more awkward and uglier in the movie than they actually are in real life. So it's hilarious to see what he actually looks like. We've got Just Friends. This movie, I watched this religiously as a kid when it came out. It came out, I was 15 years old. It's just so stupidly hilarious. Ryan Reynolds was a fat kid when he was younger, and he got made fun of, so he moves away and he gets skinny and he becomes a big like record executive, and he's all hot and cool now. And then he ends up going back to town where he runs into all the people he was in high school, and he tries to show off about how cool he is now. It's so dumb. It's so irreverent. It's a lot of jokes you could not pull off today. I mean, you could pull off today. It's just everyone doesn't do it, but a lot of stuff that you was just like, when you watch it now, you're like, oh my lord, like, I would love to see them try and get away with that today. Role Models. This was one that came in under the radar. I don't remember when it came out in theaters. I didn't see it in theaters. I caught it once it was on Netflix. And it was fucking hilarious. Like, this was a classic Paul Rudd movie right there. Sean William Scott is also really hilarious in this movie too. This is one of the better ones outside of the American Pie series for him. And it's all just about these two dudes that end up having to do community service and become role models to these kids. And the two kids are just irreverent. One of them is Christopher Mintz-Plaza's McLovin, who is just this really nerd that loves to LARP. And then another one is like a young black kid who's just, that has to like roll around with Sean William Scott, and Sean William Scott's just a terrible influence on the kid. It's just a really silly movie. Another movie that I don't know how well you could do it today, we got White Chicks. This movie is so fucking funny. This is another one that came out when I was in high school, and I fucking loved it. We quoted this movie all the time. It is just so hilariously stupid, and there's just so many just dumb jokes in it. What's his name? I can't think of his name right now, but he's in fucking everything. Has just like the best. Terry Crews. Terry Crews has the best lines in this movie, bar none. Like they're so funny, the shit he says in this movie. Oh, and I'm throwing shit all over the place. Blockers. This was another unsung one. It kind of fell in under the radar. It didn't get a lot. Like it kind of came and went. Not a lot of people talked about it, but it's actually a surprisingly really funny movie. About a group of parents that find out that their kids have made a pact to lose their virginity on prom night, and the three of them go out to try and stop it. It's really dumb. It's really silly, but goddamn it, you get to see John Cena butt chug, and that's something everybody needs to witness. First movie that me and my friends ever all went and saw in theaters together was 2004. We were 14 years old, and the movie that we decided to all go see together was Mean Girls. That's right, just a bunch of dudes together hanging out seeing Mean Girls. But it was a classic. This movie's an absolute classic, and it slaps. It's hilarious. It's got so much quotable dialogue in it. I die. It cracks me up. And it's just a really good high school movie as well. It was a solid high school movie for my generation too. Like it's hilarious to see because like when it came out, like it was big. Everybody enjoyed it, but it didn't become like this like mythical status until you started seeing the memes about it. Like when you get the meme every year where they're like, I asked him what day it was, and he's like, it's October 14th. You get that meme every fucking year. It just shows up. So like it's funny to have seen this movie before it became such like a classic to people in my generation and onward. So it's just a really hilarious movie and absolutely earns that praise as well. After that, we've got Anchorman. I know for some of you to see Anchorman this low on the list, they're just like, what are you doing? I love Anchorman. I think it's a hilarious movie, but I don't think it's as funny as some of these other ones that we're going to get to later on in the list. I've watched this movie just recently and it kind of wasn't as funny as I remembered it being. Like when I was a kid, this movie hit on all cylinders, but as I've gotten older, I think I've enjoyed different comedies more. I still love this movie. I still think there's a lot of funny shit in this movie, and the fight scene when all of them show up and you just get all those random cameos is still like one of the best like shoehorn cameo scenes of a movie that's ever been done. Like it is just so funny when you see all them show up between Vince Vaughn, Luke Wilson, Ben Stiller, Tim Robbins. Like it's just it's amazing. Like that set the standard for what was going to come in comedy once this movie came out. One that got me, and like I say, the dumber the comedy, the better, Kicking and Screaming. This movie just cracks me up. It's just pretty much 90 minutes of watching Will Ferrell be a terrible person to children, and it hits on all cylinders for me. There's just so many just silly fucking jokes in this movie between him and Robert Duvall as their two competing dads, like trying to coach their soccer teams. It's just it's dumb. It's so dumb, but it hits. It fires for me, and it just cracks me up. After that, we've got Zombieland, another classic right here. This one is another one that kind of just like took everyone by storm, like Mean Girls. Like you just weren't expecting it, and then it just came out of nowhere, and it was just huge. Everybody talked about it. Everybody loved it. It was, you got to go see Zombieland, and for good reason. It's a really funny movie. Woody Harrelson is so great in it. Everybody's really great in it. Emma Stone and Jesse Eisenberg play well off of each other. Abigail Breslin's really good in it. Everybody just really works together to make this movie just a really funny movie. And this is another one that has a really good cameo scene in it from a celebrity. I mean, at this point, if you haven't seen it, it's on you. I still won't spoil who it is, though, but if you haven't seen this movie at this point, like, what are you waiting for? Movie that me and my buddy saw 4 times in theaters because when this came out, we were 16 years old, and it was the silliest and funniest comedy to us that we just died and had to quote it a million times and go see it a million times, and that was Nacho Libre. This movie, I fucking loved this movie in high school. We watched this movie so much, and we would quote it so much, like, hey, look at this, look at this. It's one of my favorite Jack Black movies. Like, he's just so over the top stupid in it, and I love it. We've got Ted, great stoner comedy right here. The feature debut from Seth MacFarlane, who did Family Guy and all those good stuff. Mark Wahlberg is such a better comedic actor than he is a serious actor, and it was movies like this that prove why he is a hilarious guy. There's gonna be another one that's gonna come up later that again cements like how good he is when he does comedies. Like, he's so much better when he makes himself the butt of the joke than when he's trying to be like super serious. Not that he's like a terrible actor when he's super serious. I just think when he's doing these comedy ones, like that's just like his bread and butter. Like, you just see like, oh yeah, like he just seems so comfortable in this. Like, he's just firing. And Ted, of course, Seth MacFarlane as Ted the bear is just so over the top and silly. Like, this is just such a dumb fucking stoner comedy, and I love it. You ain't first, you last, baby. We got Talladega Nights. This is one of the better. This is my favorite of the Adam McKay, Will Ferrell combos. Spoiler alert, Step Brothers didn't make this list. I know everyone's probably like, what the fuck are you talking about? It was close. It was just outside of the top 50. But that one is my least favorite one. This one, though, is my favorite. Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly are just a match made in heaven together. They are so funny. Sacha Baron Cohen is hilarious in this. Fucking Michael Clark Duncan's hilarious in this. When they do that scene when Ricky Bobby sticks the knife in his leg, freaking just Michael Clark Duncan is so goddamn funny. He's like, don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby. It's just so many good moments in that movie. I fucking love it. One of my favorite sports comedies from when we were in high school, Dodgeball. It's just so funny. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball, baby. Ben Stiller basically just playing his character from Heavyweights, but fucking it works so well. Like, why not? Just keep doing it. Just so much silly shit in this. Rip Torn is hilarious as Patches O'Houlihan. Vince Vaughn reliable, but he's not. He's the regular dude. Like, it's Ben Stiller's show. He's playing the wild and wacky guy, and he's just going above and beyond, just being as silly as fucking possible, and it works. Like, his silly ass mustache in this is so goddamn good. Like, this is one of those movies, this and like another movie that we're gonna get to later, that just cemented like how good Ben Stiller was in the mid 2000s. We've got Pineapple Express, just a weird, wacky, wild movie from Seth Rogen and James Franco. Just so many silly people in this movie, just really just hamming it up. Gary Cole in there is always hilarious. Freaking Rosie Perez in there. Danny McBride is just so over the top and hilarious. I could watch Danny McBride in anything. He's just too fucking funny. It's just another just really great stoner comedy and a long line of great stoner comedies that we got in the late 2010s. The latest from the Stunt Boys, we got Jackass Forever. My God, like I said before with Jackass 3D, I can watch these guys do this all goddamn day. And to see them be this old and still this daring and wild and crazy is just a testament to how fucking great they are and how like willing they are to just sacrifice their bodies for our entertainment. Like, that stunt right there says it all. Like, Johnny Knoxville is an absolute madman, and we thank all of you guys for everything you do and all of the shit that you put your bodies on the line just to make us laugh. This movie is just a wild time. We got Bad Santa, one of the just dirtiest Christmas movies around that you could find. Billy Bob Thornton is pitch perfect in this movie. Like, he is cast so perfectly to play this character. Just a rude, lewd, disgusting human being that just is absolutely zero fucks and just robs places and wants to fuck people over. And we watch as he gets a heart of gold. It's just great. It's so funny and over the top, this movie. You just absolutely have to see that if you haven't. Another comedy from when we were in high school that I watched religiously, that we just cried and cried about all the time. Not Another Teen Movie. She's just a dumb spoof movie of teen movies. If you look in there, you got young Chris Evans before he was Captain America, before he was really anything. This was like his first movie that you saw him in, and this movie is just so goddamn stupid and so fucking funny at the same time. Like, I die every time when Chris Evans goes down into the basement to see the art chick and to try and like smooth things over with her, and she's drawing a picture and she draws a stick figure, and he's just like, who is that? And she's like, that's my mom. And he just goes, you have her eyes. Gets me every goddamn time. We got Hot Fuzz, freaking Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Edgar Wright, just an absolutely hilarious send-up of action movies. Follows a guy who has to go and be a small-town cop in just a small-town area, and he ends up getting way in over his head as he comes across this whole like conspiracy and all this crazy murders that start happening. It's just so hilariously silly. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are just, again, just much like Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, they are a match made in heaven. They play off so well with each other. There's so many silly, hilarious cameos in this one too. Like, Peter Jackson is like the random Santa Claus in it. Just gets me every time. This is just such a wild and fun movie that I saw in theaters. We got Bruce Almighty. Whoever had the idea to be like, what if God could give a human being his powers? And they were like, all right, cool, but like, who would be the human being that we get? And they're just like, Jim Carrey. Genius. Like, at that point, it's like, we don't even need a script. Just like, fucking go get him, get a camera, and let's fucking do this. Who's God? Morgan Freeman. All right, baby, let's roll. This movie is just so hilariously and wildly funny. It's got a heart of gold, too, I think, too. This is one of the more sentimental of these comedy movies that you see in here, but this one works for me, mostly due to Jim Carrey, because Jim Carrey is my favorite comedic actor, and he's just an absolute madman. He's just one of the fucking best to ever do it. This movie is just so much fun. My wife, we got the first Borat movie. I remember when this came out when we were in high school, and we snuck in to go see it, and I was just still unprepared for everything I was about to witness. This movie is so wildly stupid and hilarious and irreverent, and just is able to shine a light on just how stupid some of us in this country are. And like, my God, thank God for Sacha Baron Cohen, who continues to put himself on the line and make shit like this. Because the second one even is still just as wild as this one. The shit that he does, the shit that he's able to pull out of people, he is an absolute genius. The movie that basically changed, along with Anchorman, is one of the movies that basically changed the trajectory of comedy in the mid-2000s, moving away from spoof movies and kind of how comedies were in the 90s to more just like dick and fart jokes and just a bunch of guys talking about dumb shit. We got The 40-Year-Old Virgin. This is just such a silly movie. Pretty much started that whole just laugh pack of all of these guys that would show up in all of each other's movies with Steve Carell, Paul Rudd, Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill, just all those guys that would all just show up in each other's work. This movie is absolutely hilarious, following Steve Rogen as he is a 40-year-old virgin and dealing with the world around him and with his friends and women troubles and all that stuff. It's just a wildly hilarious movie. And this is another one that has a heart of gold on it. It has a sweet little heartwarming message at the end of it. Leave it to Judd Apatow to make a nice little heartwarming comedy right there. We got Neighbors. This is another movie that kind of took me by surprise. I didn't know anything about it. And then when it came out, it was like, yeah, I'll go see that. Like Seth Rogen, why not? And Rose Byrne, I fucking love her. So I was like, yeah, let's go see it. And then it turned out to be wildly hilarious. Like so much fun and so over the top and silly about just these two warring factions between a family trying to have some nice peace and quiet and a fraternity that's moved in next door. There is just so much gold to be mined out of this movie. Zac Efron's great in it. Dave Franco's hilarious in it. And then, of course, Rose Byrne and Seth Rogen are hilarious in it as well. There's just so many good, funny moments in this movie. And then following off of that, we talked about that whole laugh pack and that whole crew and everything, and probably their most meta movie to date, This Is the End, is literally just the group of them as the actors that they are at a party in Los Angeles, and the apocalypse happens. And then we just follow them playing these zany versions of themselves as they deal with the apocalypse around them. It is just wildly stupid, but it is absolutely hilarious. I fucking love, they're all so funny in this movie. James Franco, even though he might be a horrible person, in real life just plays such a fucking hilariously demented version of himself. So does Jonah Hill, Danny McBride also. Like, they're all just like so wildly over the top in this movie, and it is just a lot of fun and just so goddamn silly. The whole opening party, where it just has a montage of different cameos from like people within this group, is just fucking gold. Before, about Mark Wahlberg just crushing it in comedy roles, and probably my favorite comedy role of his is The Other Guys. He is so funny when he lets himself be the butt of the joke, and he is just so wildly hilarious in this movie as this dude who is just afraid of his own masculinity and trying to prove himself to other people, but he wants to be like such a dope cop along with Will Ferrell. It's just such a fucking stupidly hilarious movie. Like when he was like, I'm a peacock, Captain, you gotta let me fly. Like, he's just so fucking goddamn good. Michael Keaton in this movie is also absolutely hilarious. Every time he says anything, I fucking cry laughing. We got 21 Jump Street, the movie that pretty much kickstarted Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum into high gear, and for good reason, because they are absolutely stellar in this movie. This movie is just hilariously silly. This is probably the best version of what you could hope for when you were going to make a remake of 21 Jump Street, but goddamn, do they really fire on all cylinders here and really make this work. Fucking Phil Lord and Christopher Miller are just absolutely phenomenal filmmakers. Ice Cube in this movie also is fucking hilarious. We've got a movie that was actually influenced by the amusement park that's right by my house, where this guy worked when he was a kid. And we've got Adventureland. This is another movie that is wildly funny, but also has a heart of gold. And I do love those sentimental comedy movies from time to time. This one is a lot of fun about a dude who gets a job at an amusement park for the summer and the people that he meets around there and the colorful cast of characters that he comes in contact with. Lots of fun, based on the Adventureland that's right down the road from my house. So that's always fun whenever I turn on this movie and see that. An absolutely dark and demented movie. We've got Death to Smoochy. If you ever wanted to see Robin Williams being an absolute horrible human being, like, this is the movie for you. He plays this guy Randolph. I forget what the fuck his other name. I think it's like Rainbow Randolph is his character. Yeah, he's Rainbow Randolph, and he's got like this children's show, and everyone loves him. And then they find out that he's a fucking terrible person. He's got like gambling problems, and he's fucking twisted. So he gets kicked out for Edward Norton's character, which is Smoochy, who is this new on the block like rip off of Barney that all the kids love, and he just does anything he can to try and fuck over Smoochy and get back into the limelight. It is just so goddamn like disgustingly hilarious. Like, he is just such a horrible human being. It's amazing to watch. We've got Dope. This movie's dope. That's all I got for you. It's a great movie, a coming of age story about just following this kid as he's hanging around after school and he gets involved with like shady drug dealers and just weirdos. And he's got this backpack that can make or break him getting into Harvard. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's a movie that's really good if you go in blind. Like I knew nothing about this movie when I went to go see it. It was just one of those movies that I've seen everything else that was in theaters. This was the only thing left, and I'd never seen a trailer or anything anywhere. But I was like, let's go see it. Like what's the worst? Like let's go check it out. And I ended up fucking loving it. Like it's hilarious. It's great. It's a fun coming of age story, and it's definitely one that you should go in like knowing as little as possible and just enjoy yourself. We got Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, fucking classic right here. This is another stoner comedy that I just loved. We grew up with this one in high school as well. I remember sneaking into it to go see it in high school, and it just absolutely cracks me up. The two of these guys, John Cho and Cal Penn, are so funny in it. They're just so good with just like real. This one not as much. The other one's more so, but like just bringing to light just the really ridiculous stereotypes that would be commonplace in America, especially in regards to two people like this. They just did such a fun way of just sending it up and just making it absolutely ridiculously silly. It's just so much fun. And Neil Patrick Harris, of course, this movie owes him everything. Like he became such a huge dude after this movie. It's so insane to remember seeing this and then seeing How I Met Your Mother star right after it. And when I was a kid, I had no fucking idea he was actually gay in real life. It was just like, dude, Neil Patrick Harris is the fucking man. There's just so much silly shit in this movie. I fucking love it. That's why Mama named you Dirt, not Nunamaker. It's Joe Dirt. When I say I love my comedies dumb, I love them dumb. And this movie just gets me every time. It's so fucking funny. It's my favorite David Spade movie. He's just picture perfect here as Joe Dirt, just this absolute fucking hillbilly as we follow these adventures that he goes on, falling in love with this girl Brandy and all the other colorful cast of characters that he comes around with. It's so funny. I fucking love this movie. And it's just one of those movies that I could put on and just it'll end and I'll put it back on again and I can laugh just as hard as if I just watched it for the first time. It's so funny. A movie that people were probably expecting to be in the top 10, it's going to fall a little bit just outside. That is Superbad. This is definitely one of the best teen comedies around. It's absolutely hilarious. One-liner after one-liner after one-liner. Every piece of this movie is hilarious. Michael Cera especially is hilarious in it. Jonah Hill just over the top and out of control. Christopher Mintz-Plasse is amazing. Bill Hader and Seth Rogen, like everyone on this is firing in all cylinders. It's an absolutely hilarious movie. It's so fucking funny. I remember seeing this when I was just graduated high school, like we were about to start college. So this was a very like poignant movie for us too, because just like they were dealing with going and graduating high school and going to college and going away from their friends for the first time, so were me and my friends. So this movie really hit hard for us when we saw it and we loved it. And it was just so funny. It's a movie that I still go back to today and remember fondly thanks to those memories. Other movie we saw when we were in high school was a movie that made us just want to get, this is probably a terrible movie to put out for kids to go sneak into because all it made them want to do is go out and get hammered drunk, and that is Beer Fest. The Broken Lizard crew coming together to make this absolutely ridiculous movie about these Americans that train for a beer drinking competition in Germany to try and get back their, I think they have like a brew, like a blend for a brew that like somebody from Germany is like stolen from them, or like they think it's theirs, so they're having a competition for it. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's pointless. It's superfluous to get to the point of the movie, which is just to laugh your ass off. And these guys are just absolutely hilarious in this movie. There's so many just silly over the top moments. We fucking loved it. We used to watch this movie all the time when we were in high school. It's one of those ones you'd have on in the background whenever you were having like a house party or whatnot. It was just like, yeah, we're drinking, we're partying, like put on Beer Fest. We got Undercover Brother. This is an amazing fucking send-up of spy movies. It's also an amazing send-up of just stereotypical white people dealing with what they expect from black people. Like this movie is just having the villain be the man, and it's just Chris Kattan like doing, and he's just doing this wildly over the top white shit, and then he just has these moments where he just like feels black culture and he just starts acting black, and it's one of those movies that like you can make it today, but I also just feel like I don't know how they would. Like I feel like people would just be too nervous about it. But it's just wildly hilarious in this movie. Everyone in it's so fucking. There's another one. Neil Patrick Harris is in this movie playing like the token white guy in the spy group, which is made up, of course, of all black people. Eddie Griffin, and it's fucking hilarious. Dave Chappelle's in it, also absolutely fucking over the top and hilarious. Billy D. Williams is in this movie, is so funny. Denise Richards is playing like the femme fatale to him. Like there's just, it's so, this movie, I love this movie. It's one of those movies that's just so funny. We watched it so much when we were kids, and I would cry laughing every time. The only American Pie movie you're going to see on this list here, we've got American Pie 2. Obviously, the first American Pie can't be on this list because it was 1999. An American Wedding is fine. It just missed making it on this, and so did American Reunion. But this one gets me every time. I fucking love this one. I think this was the best American Pie movie. Actually, I like it more than the first one, of just them all getting back together after their first year of college and going and renting a house on the beach for the summer, and they all just get together and they just do what they do and just be how they are. And it's just Stifler, hilarious. Fucking Finch, hilarious in this movie. I just think all the characters work so well out of each other. And just Jim is the best character because you just watch him just have these just awkward moment after awkward moment happen to this dude. Like he just can't catch a break. And I love movies like that where you put these characters in just really just like hilariously awkward situations and just watch the hilarity ensue. An absolute classic. We got Meet the Parents right here. I remember seeing this in theaters. My parents took us to see this, and it was just so fucking funny. I think this is Ben Stiller again showing why he was the fucking man right here. Like, and we want to talk about awkward comedies where you just want to make your main character, where you basically have douche chills from watching your main character. This is just top of the list right there. Like Ben Stiller is so great in being put in just these horribly awkward situations that you're just like squirming. You're laughing so hard. This is just one of the best ever. Do. It's so funny. We've got, this was the start of the end for spoof movies, but that doesn't mean there was a few last gems in there. And we've got Scary Movie. This was the movie that was the last fire that they needed for spoof movies, but it also ended up being its undoing and destroyed spoof movies. But this first one is just so fucking good and just fires on all cylinders. It is an absolute hilarious send-up of the slasher movies of the 90s. Anna Faris, fantastic in it. The gift that kept on giving with these movies. Like, she was so good in all of these movies. So many hilarious things in this movie. One of my favorite parts still to this day is when right after the first murder happens and all the news crews are talking and it cuts to the black news van and they're like newsflash, white people are dead, we getting the fuck out of here, and they just peel out. It's like, it's so goddamn good. I fucking love this movie. The Wayans brothers just fire. They're so good in the 2000s. Probably my favorite Judd Apatow movie. We've got Knocked Up. I remember this coming out right around when I was graduating high school. And this movie is just so goddamn funny. I fucking loved it. This is easily him at his best, at Seth Rogen at his best. It's funny, it's irreverent, it's heartfelt. It's just so much fun. It's one of those movies that you get the whole package. You get everything you want out of it. You laugh, you cry, you enjoy. It's one of those just full experience movies. Everybody, all the like cast of like the side characters that show up in it are hilarious. Jason Segel, Paul Rudd. There's just so many great funny movie moments in this movie. I just fucking love this movie. And just missing out on the top 10. I know this is another one that for a lot of people might even be their number one. It would definitely be in their top 10. All these ones, once we got past like 20, was really hard to do because all of these ones I fucking love them. So really on any given day, they could move around. But for right now, it's settling just outside the top 10 at number 11, and it is Shaun of the Dead. Easily the best output that we've gotten from Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost. I remember when this came out, when I was in high school, we went and saw it. It was fucking hilarious. We absolutely loved it. It's just such a fun send-up of zombie movies while also just being a great zombie movie in and of itself. I remember when this was the first movie when I went to film school that we broke down in screenwriting class, that we just broke it down by part after part just to see how well this movie is at its job, and it's just fantastic. I love it even more after learning all of that stuff. It's just one of the fucking best comedies to ever do it. But now we get into the top 10. All of these are really hard. I fucking love all of these movies. They're so great. So we'll just dive in. At number 10, we got Old School. This movie, when it came out, I remember seeing it in theaters. I had never laughed harder in my life than when Will Ferrell blows the dart gun right into his neck. And fucking Seth Rogen's just like, yeah, not Seth Rogen, fucking Showman, this guy's just like, yes, nice. He's like, oh, you got a fucking dart in your neck. Like, tears, fucking tears. I was laughing so hard. My dad took me and my brother to see it, and we were just fucking crying. And this movie has moment after moment like that. There's just so many fucking hilarious points in this movie. One of Vince Vaughn's best roles. Like, he's fucking hilarious in it. Everything about this movie fucking kills me. And it's hilarious to think that it's made by Todd Phillips, who would go on to do the Joker. Like, Yeah, okay. At number 9 is the best of the Jackass movies. It is Jackass number 2. This one came out, I think, in 2006. I was 16. This was one of the funniest movies around when it came out. It's had the best combination of stunts, disgusting humor, and just wildly over-the-top moments that we would just die when we saw it. I remember we saw this like 3 times in theaters because we would just cry fucking laughing every time we saw it. I fucking love this movie. At number 8, I know for a lot of people the first Scary Movie is their bread and butter, but for me, the one that came out that hit the most for me because I love the fucking airplane humor is Scary Movie 3, and it does not surprise me because it's made by David Zucker, the guy who did Airplane. So of course I was going to fucking love this movie. This one just fires everywhere for me. There's so many funny and stupid moments in this. The bit that has anytime fucking Rex, I forget what his like whole name is, he gets like thrown out of a window, and the second that he hits, he's just back up in like record time, like an impossible amount of time that it would take somebody to get up. It's like instant, so like, you know, they just cut frames. It cracks me up every time. There's so many just dumb fucking moments in this. Anthony Anderson and Kevin Hart and all their just stupid inane dialogue in there where they're talking about, man, if a rat goes inside, is it a mouse? And if a mouse goes outside, is it a rat? Like, there's just so many stupidly hilarious moments in this movie that I fucking died. The moment that probably gets me the most is when Leslie Nielsen is playing the president. He's just talking about how crazy it is that aliens show up. And he's just like, I wonder what President Ford would do right now. And you think it's like actual President Ford, but it's just a picture of Harrison Ford from when he was in Air Force One. It's like, it's just moments like that that just get me. Like, I just love fucking dumb humor like that. At number 7 is I Love You Man. This movie, I fucking love this movie. I love Jason Segel. I think he's one of the funniest guys around. I hate that we don't see him in enough comedies or anything anymore. We don't really see him in a lot now post How I Met Your Mother, and it's a shame because he is one of the funniest fucking guys around. And I Love You Man. He's just so good. His relationship with Paul Rudd in this movie is so goddamn funny. I fucking love it. It's just such a fun and inventive movie that's just as simple about a dude who has no friends, who needs to find some friends when he's getting married. So he's got someone to walk him down the aisle, and more than that, he ends up actually finding a friend who he considers to be like a brother to him. It's just such a fun movie. It's so funny. We talk about a lot in comedy, like could you make these movies today? And probably the one that you could make pretty much any of these today. It's just like, how would people handle the jokes? I think the toughest one to probably make today would be Tropic Thunder, and I think we all know why. But this movie is so goddamn funny. I remember when it came out and we were just like, oh my god, this movie is going to be something else, and fucking goddamn it, it is. It is so fucking funny and such a good send-up of just like how Hollywood is in regards to like with its actors and dealing with movies and like how their personalities interact with each other. It's just so fucking funny. Jack Black, hilarious as a drug addict. Freaking Ben Stiller again, he's just so fucking reliable. And then of course Robert Downey Jr. is just doing Robert Downey Jr. and he's so goddamn good in it. Like, everyone in this movie just fires on all cylinders. It is so fucking funny and it's an absolute classic. Matthew McConaughey cracks me up in this movie too. Like, how they got him into doing this is just so funny also. Like, he's just so funny. I love that movie. I can watch that movie anytime. One of my favorite movies that we ever snuck into though is Team America World Police. This movie was just fucking nuts. 2004, I think we were 14 when this came out. Sneaking into it, one of the silliest and hilarious experiences of my life. We quote this movie still to this day, me and my friends. It's so funny. Like the scene when he's just like throwing up in the alley and the one marionette comes out, she's like, you gave up on life, didn't you? Like, we quote just dumb fucking lines like that all the time. This movie is so fucking funny. The guys from South Park are absolute geniuses. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are fucking geniuses. Everything they do is the funniest shit of all time, and this is just so goddamn funny. Ben Stiller showing up here again. This is the best that he's ever been, the best to ever do it, and that is Zoolander, man. We talk about movies that we love to quote. This is one of those movies that we love to quote. I remember me and one of my friends got detention when we were seniors in high school because we would just do this dumb shit where whenever when we were taking tests, we would just start going like, and then finally when the teacher would take notice and comment on it, whichever one of us got caught coughing, the other one would then go, I think he's got the black lung. Just something that's so fucking stupid in hindsight, but just cracked us up so much. Like, every line in this movie is so fucking goddamn funny, and I love it. Number 3, we talked about how much I fucking love Jason Segel, and it is Forgetting Sarah Marshall. This is one of the funniest comedies of all time. It's so, everything about this movie is fucking hilarious. Jason Segel is so goddamn funny in it. Fucking everybody in this movie. Russell Brand is hilarious in it. Mila Kunis is great in it. Kristen Bell is funny in it. The gags in it are so good. Like when Jason Bateman shows up, and all the people with like in the shows that Kristen Bell is in are just so fucking hilariously stupid. Everything about this movie is fucking amazing. We say the line too that Jonah Hill says all the time when like he sees Russell Brand play and he just goes, just went from 6 to midnight, and he just starts jacking off. Like, we say that line all the time because it's so goddamn funny. I fucking love this movie. The runner-up, I always say whenever we get to the top two, it was always tough to pick between the two. It's same case for this one as well, because these two are probably two of my favorite comedies of all time. I remember seeing this one in theaters and just fucking dying, and me and my brother would watch this movie all the time because I fucking love it, and it is Super Troopers. One of just the silliest comedies of all time. Just follows this group of troopers that are fighting to keep their fucking highway even open, like they're about to get shut down, so they're trying to keep their jobs and just trying to figure out this drug bust that's going on, and it's just so wildly hilarious and stupidly irreverent. The comedy jokes in it are so over the top and funny. I fucking love it. This is just an absolute fantastic comedy movie. I absolutely love it. We're not even going to mention the second one existing, but this is one of the greatest comedy movies of all time, not even just the 21st century. I fucking love this movie. But there can only be one, and it is probably, I mean, I gotta see one where I look into all comedy of all time, but this honestly might be just my favorite comedy of all time, and it is Wedding Crashers. It's just so freaking good, this movie. I cry laughing throughout this entire movie. Everything about this movie is fucking hilarious. Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn plays off of each other so well. Vince Vaughn this is my favorite Vince Vaughn movie too. Like, it's my favorite performance of his because he plays such a good fucking hothead in this movie. Like how he just switches from like just lackadaisical, where he's like, oh, you a motor? Or you motorboated, didn't you? Oh, you old son of a bitch, dude. Did you feel the cans? Was it good? Was you a motorboat? You and then Owen Wilson just goes like, what's wrong with you? And just like that, fucking Vince Vaughn just switches. Like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? Why don't you get jacked off under the table for the whole goddamn family? Talk to me about problems. Team player. Fucking jackass. Like, he's so fucking funny in this movie. Like, they're all so, like, everything about this movie fucking kills me. I watch it over and over and over again. I watch it probably like once a month because it just fucking kills. It's one of those movies that when you're just like feeling blue and you need just like a funny movie to give you a pick-me-up, like this is the one you go to because it's just so goddamn funny. Like, fucking Christopher Walken's so good. And then he's like when he's trying to like reach out to his son, and his son's just like looking at the ocean. He's like, "Death, you are my bitch lover." And Christopher Walken's like, "Yeah, Todd, tell that mean ocean." Just like so many stupid fucking lines in this movie. Like, I love this movie. I could quote this entire movie, and I'm tempted to right now, but I won't. But that's how much I love this movie. And that'll do it. The 50 of my favorite comedy movies that have come out since the year 2000. Comedy is one of my favorite genres. I can laugh at anything. I laugh at everything. To me, no joke is off the table. I can laugh at everything. Doesn't matter the subject matter. I just love fucking comedy. This was the hardest one to compile. 54 I had. When I went through over 100, I could have done a top 100, but I felt that was just a lot to go through, so I whittled it down and just did top 50. Maybe later down the line we're going to see how this shakes up if we do a top of all time, but for now these are my 50 of my favorites since the year 2000. But that'll do it for all of us here at The Outpost. Look for the next in the series when we dive into the next genre, which I believe will be drama. But that'll do it for all of us here at The Outpost tonight. You have been you, I have been me. These are the movies we love so much, and I'll see you at the movies.